I agree with you. 100%. Yes, ma'am. We ready?
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session? Motion by Mr. Gaines, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Let the record show no actions were taken during executive session. Next on our agenda is the appointments that the board makes. At this time, we're going to move that to the bottom of our agenda. So, moving on, number 5. What is this, Mr. Attorney?
That's a statutory responsibility that you have. If you're establishing that your county administrator is authorized to act within those sections that you see listed there, it's a way of administering the county's business. The board has to say this is what the county administrator's responsibilities will be. You can do that on your minutes.
All right. So we need to do that after we appoint one?
You can do it now or later.
All right,
You're gonna do it
okay.
either way.
All right, number 5.
All right, so moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, old business.
Motion approved.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Ayes have it. Miss Gilbert, come on up. Congratulations.
There.
I'll make it easy on y'all my first day.
All right.
Mine is exactly as it says on your agenda, request for approval to void the 2018 tax receipt for PPIN 38319 due to property not being recognized as tax exempt due to maturity to the state.
Yep, so moved to approve.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, Caroline. John, since John's not here, Caroline, you want to do him too?
I do it better than y'all.
You do? Come on.
I'll just make a motion to approve A and B together.
All right.
Under Mr. Sullivan's.
Okay. Daniel's going to step in as
Second.
his assessor.
Yeah, John.
He makes a motion to approve. Second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Craig, you have something?
Yeah, just to alert you guys, John's on his way. He had a little family issue that he needed to deal with this morning.
Okay.
He thought he was going to get here in time, but obviously he wasn't able to get here, but he's on his way.
All right. Miss Herring, come on up, Bridget. Happy New Year.
My first item this morning is to award the bids for the unit system, the term bids, contingent on the final approval of the Public Procurement Review Board on January the 8th, 2020. This will be for for annual asphalt, scrub seal, slurry seal, microsurfacing, crushed aggregates, gravel, metal culverts, and polypropylene culverts.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion by Steve to approve.
Second.
Second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
My next item is to award the contract for pest control services of the county buildings to Safeguard Pest Management with David Jeffcoat Pest Control as an alternate.
Motion approved.
Motion by Jared.
Second.
Second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
My last item is approval of copier contracts for Community Development Sheriff's Department shop with RICO, Election Commission with Southern Duplicating, Chancery Clerk and 911 Operations with R.J. Young.
That's a bunch at one time. All right.
So moved.
Motion by Daniel.
Second.
Second by
Brad.
Brad. Any
Brad got it.
discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve Mr. Harrison under
Second.
item A.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jared. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Mr. Slade.
Yes, sir.
If I may, Mr. President, under item A, we've got a public hearing on the Shirley Winsley conditional use permit at 259 Oakdale Road. This is a District 4 property. We'll open that public hearing. Ms. Winsley is seeking a conditional use permit to place a brand new 28 by 56 manufactured home at 259 Oakdale Road. This is a 5-acre parcel of family land. There's no other homes on the property at present. It's zoned RE1. Ms. Winsley has a brother in need of constant care, and she is applying for a hardship section application, which allows a manufactured home when needed for the care of a family member of advanced age, physical disability, medical or mental problems, so long as that condition exists. That public hearing is open. I'll ask at this time if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Shirley Winsley conditional use permit. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? If you'll come forward, please, state your name and your address on the record.
Just one at a time, please. Y'all can all stand up here together if you want, though. Give each other a little support.
Come on up.
So, give us your name and address.
Whoever's speaking.
My name is Bob Peterson. This is my wife Gloria.
Okay.
We've lived for about 50 years at 224 Langford Farms Road. We also own the property across the street at 229 Langford Farms Road. We oppose the request. We think the placement of a mobile home will decrease our property value. We also believe that it is not in accord with the way the exception should be read under the zoning ordinance. We believe that the zoning ordinance exception is meant to apply when you have a home and then you want to bring a mobile home in for your family member who's got a hardship. That occurred in our neighborhood when Ken Murphy applied for an exception. He lived at 259 Langford Farms Road, and he asked for that permission. He wanted to build a little cottage for his parents, and I didn't oppose that because I knew Ken and he had taken care of his property. This property does not have a house on it. It did have a house on it at one time, but it was condemned and it was torn down. And we just don't believe that it's meant for just somebody to be able to bring a mobile home in on a piece of property like that. You've got places in Rankin County that are zoned for mobile homes, that's all you're going to have is a mobile home. Now, if they were going to build a house there and wanted to put a mobile home on there to live in while they built it, we'd have no objection to that. But they just want to bring a mobile home in, and that's all that's going to be there. There's never going to be a home there. Now, we don't say this with any ill will toward the Winsley family. We have helped the people who live there. I don't know if they were relatives of the applicants here, but through the years, we have helped the people that have been there. I mowed the grass for them. All the time that somebody lived there, I don't believe anybody ever mowed it themselves. It's either me or across the street neighbors, Robert Pittman, his next door neighbor, Mr. Dexter, I forget his last name. We're the people who've mowed that property. My wife every day walks up and down Oakdale Road picking up trash, including the trash that accumulates in front of that property. The Pittmans have given the occupants, when there was a home there before it was condemned, they gave them a heater when they didn't have any heat. Another across the street neighbor, Miss Anna Burnham, when she found out that they didn't have any water, she invited the children over so they could take a bath. My daughter, who lives down at 234 Oakdale Road, discovered that the children didn't have enough food at one time, so she made sandwiches for them. We're not doing this out of any ill will toward the Winsley family. We just simply do not believe that a mobile home is going to do anything but decrease the value of our property. And for that reason, we'd ask that the board reject the application. There are some people who could not come, and I have 8 letters here from them that I'd like to present and make a part of the record.
So without objection to making this part of the record, we'll turn these over to the
Okay.
I have one question. Where does this family live now? Or the family that wants to put that there, where do they reside?
I can only go what was on the application. The applicant lives in Chicago. I believe the Winsley family is here. Is that right? Are these the Winsleys?
Well,
But so they can speak for themselves, but all I can tell you what was on the application. And
So nobody's lived there in quite a while?
Nobody's lived there in quite a while.
I'll just clarify for myself.
okay. Next. Thank you.
I'm Mayreen Pittman, and this is my husband, Robert. We live directly across the property that's at question today.
Okay.
We've been there since 1987, and at that time, nobody lived in the small frame home that was there. And I was told that Louise, that lived next door, that was her daughter's home, and she lived in Chicago. When she retired, she came there. Shortly, just a few years later, she passed away. And since that time, until this house was torn down, it has been deplorable conditions. Nobody took care of the home. Nobody took care of the land. It's been known drug activity. DHS has been called in to help take care of the children, the issues that are there. And we just feel like we don't want this to be a reoccurrence now that the home has been torn down and the property's been cleared. There's been no evidence over these 32 years that we've been there that they're good stewards of their property or their home, because the home was never taken care of. It got to the point it had to be completely demolished. So we appreciate y'all's
What is your
consideration.
address?
256 Oakdale Road, and I'm directly across the street from that lot.
I just missed the house number.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mary O'Gwen. I live at 108 Langford Farms Drive and have property, 8.3 acres that fronts onto Oakdale Road. Well, my husband just passed, but we moved there in 1975, so we're long-time residents. We don't want to diminish the value. I don't want to diminish the value of the property. We appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Anna Barnum. I live at 246 Oakdale Road. I think we've been there 12 years. Of course, we have a fairly new home and absolutely do not want the mobile home down the street to diminish our property value as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in opposition on this matter? Okay, Mr. President, with your indulgence, this time I would offer to Ms. Winsley the opportunity to come forward and address the board if she is interested in doing so. Is this the applicant? Okay. Yeah. For the record, please state your name and address.
Shirley Winsley. I live in Chicago, 8028 South Hermitage, Chicago, Illinois. I would like to move here. Anything else?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain the situation? I believe you said it was your brother.
Yes, I have.
Explain to the board what that situation is.
Yes, I have a brother that's disabled right now. He's in a nursing home, and I would like to get him out of there and move here. He can talk, he can walk, but not much else.
Ms. Winsley, when you came before us during our planning session, I didn't realize at that time that there was not an existing house there.
Yes, I had it torn down.
Yeah, all the times that we've done this before, there's always been a house located, so someone could come in to take care of a loved one. This would be out of the norm if we were to approve that. I've been on the board for 19 years, and we've never approved one like this before. Just to, move in a new structure without having someone located already there.
Okay.
Do you have anything else? Anybody have any more questions for her?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it as far as the hearing?
So, is there anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Yes, ma'am, you certainly may. Name and address, please. Okay.
My name is Mary Hobson. I live at 120 Hobson Circle, and my maiden name is Winsley. And this probably have been in the Winsley family for 15 years. The house was torn down, but there is property right next to it that belongs to the Winsley also. There's no children there now. Most of the children are grown and gone. All of the elderly people are dead and gone. And we're just trying to we will be keeping this in the family, but we do have this family member. We would love to bring him back home. He's one of the elderly members, and we would just like to bring him back home to live his last days out here in Mississippi where he grew up at.
Oh, he doesn't live here now?
No, he's not here right now. His daughter come and got him, and she's with him now.
Where do they live?
She's in Chicago.
Oh, so they're,
Yes.
everybody's from Chicago.
Yes.
How old is he?
72. Yes.
Okay.
72. Thank you.
So just kind of put a little bit of a summation on what you've heard and the situation that you find yourself in as a board to make a decision. This is a situation where the zoning is impacting what the family would like to do. The zoning impacts that. This is RE1. That's residential estate 1. We don't allow mobile homes in RE1. It's just zoned that way. And so in order to accommodate the request, this board has to consider it at a very technical, detailed level. It has to be a conditional use, which means the board can establish conditions to granting any sort of application. You can establish any conditions that the board believes are appropriate under the circumstances. And it has to be a hardship, a demonstrated hardship. And so as to Jay's point, typically what you see in situations where it's a family member who has health issues or some mental imbalance, whatever, has issues of being able to take care of themselves, the board routinely will accommodate the placement of a mobile home, even in an RE1 where it's not allowed, for that hardship purpose, but there's already a structure there. That's what that was the point that was being made. So you've already got a structure that accommodates. The issue here is not that they cannot use their property and have a place to take care of the brother. It just simply needs to meet the RE1 zoning requirements. So it needs to be a house and not a manufactured house, if that makes sense. So you're not telling the folks not to use their property or that they can't, in fact, put a residence in place. It just simply has to comply with zoning, okay? So unless the board is ready to establish that there is, in fact, a hardship that needs to be accommodated and conditions, then the board is ready to act in whatever way it chooses.
So they can build a house.
That's correct.
Sure.
And all this.
That's where it's really zoned for.
Yeah, so, okay.
Right.
So the hearing is closed. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to deny the conditional use hearing. Or
Okay.
The conditional use permit, I apologize, I said hearing, but I'm
Yeah.
in conditional use permit, I'll make a
Okay.
motion to deny.
Motion from Daniel to deny the application.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Gaines. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mr. President, the next item B under my section is a public hearing on the Danny Matthews conditional use permit request, Old Highway 43. This is a District 4 parcel. We'll open that public hearing. Mr. Matthews is seeking a conditional use permit to operate a woodworking shop to make furniture and this will be on Old Highway 43. He's purchasing a 2.7 acre parcel out of a 9.7 acre parcel. The property is adjacent to the runway at Harrell Field. It's zoned A2. Mr. Matthews is proposing construction of a 4,000 square foot metal building. Most items will be viewed online. The furniture will be viewed online. Parking will be mostly gravel with some paved spaces in front. He has future plans to add a hangar for his personal airplane on the backside of the property, which would be immediately adjacent to the runway. This time that hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Danny Matthews conditional use permit request. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it would be appropriate to take action.
I'm familiar with this location, and there's a couple of things that I would like to just, for the record, get on there. We have had some challenges as far as where the driveway comes out, and water, there's gotta be a culvert there, and it's got drain right. We had, to shut that road maybe a time or two because of mud across it. We wanna be careful that we get that taken care of. That's sensitive to the people that live out there. The other thing is we are subdividing. This is a larger tract that's being taken out. So if we go further, and I know this guy's not the seller, but the next time someone comes in and says, hey, we're gonna have to look at our subdivision rules and regs with Renee and make sure we're in compliance. But other than that, I mean, that's just food for thought.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Yes, sir. Steve, to your motion, can I just make it clear on the record that you're establishing two conditions to the granting of the permit? Number one is that the applicant will communicate with your consulting engineer and with your road manager, and that before the permit is issued, there will be basically a meeting of the minds about how the drainage is going to be accommodated, okay? So we'll make that a condition. That's number one. And then number two would be that on the record, as a part of this permit process, the board is establishing that it does not intend to allow any further subdividing until there has been an understanding with respect to the county's development ordinance.
This is a really narrow piece of property, and it's going to have to be looked at
Gotcha.
with different eyes.
We'll make those two conditions a part of Steve's motion. Daniel, if you're good.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good with the second.
Okay.
All right. Motion by Steve, second by Daniel. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right.
Mr. President, item C under my section is the public hearing on the Carlton Plunkett construction.
Hang on a second. You know, y'all are welcome to leave now if we've dealt with you. Y'all don't have to stay for our whole meeting. I wasn't sure if y'all knew that or not, so. You're more welcome to stay, though. You're good. Sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. And just for the record, in case I didn't do it, item B's public hearing is closed. Item C is a public hearing on the Carlton Plunkett construction conditional use permit. We'll open that public hearing. Mr. Plunkett, or Carlton Plunkett Construction is seeking a conditional use permit to expand Davis Aviation's facilities at 200 Jetport Road. There are two existing buildings on the property, and they are proposing a 7,020 square foot addition to be placed between the two existing buildings. The front elevation will appear to make this structure now appear as one building. It will be a metal building with two-tone metal siding along the front. It's a 40.53 acre parcel zoned A1. That public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Carlton Plunkett construction conditional use permit. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. This time we'll close that public hearing and be appropriate to take action.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Motion by
Second.
Steve, second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. President, item D is a little bit of a cleanup matter. This has to do with a conditional use permit application that the board did not act on. The applicant withdrew the application before the board had an opportunity to act, and the staff is requesting authority from the board to return to Mr. Byrd, the applicant, his application fee that he tendered.
Okay.
I'll make a motion approved.
Motion by Jared,
Second.
second by Brad. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Item E is action to rescind a resolution that was adopted by the board that approved a conditional use application and granted a conditional use permit to Oakdale Place LLC. The board took that action on October the 15th, 2019, and it was applicable, the permit itself was applicable to Rankin County real property identified as those 5 or 6 parcels that are listed there. This action is necessary as a result of the failure of the real property transaction on which the action to adopt the resolution was based to close. The property transaction never occurred, and there's no need for the conditional use permit, therefore, and we don't want a permit simply hanging out there without a usefulness to it.
I make a motion that we rescind that permit.
Motion by Steve, second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Previously, the board has approved the MOU between Rankin County and Keep the Res Beautiful, the 501c3 that we're working with to help us with best management practices as it relates to siltation and material leaving construction sites. It's a very simple, small revision to that previously approved agreement, changing the date of termination. Their grant funding, the 501c3's grant funding, terms out on December the 1st of 2020, and so the MOU needs to correspond to when their grant funding actually runs out. That's all you're doing is moving the termination date to 12/1.
So didn't they have some funds though they were getting to pay?
Yeah, I
They're
think we
paying
did
their
that
way.
a couple of meetings or so ago. I think we talked about it. They do. They've got some additional money to hire
They're-
additional inspectors.
okay, all
Yeah,
right.
that's a different contract, I think, Mr. Slay. on
Okay.
that side.
All right.
It's actually the same MOU with a few slight variations that help to accommodate how things are working out. I don't want
Okay.
to put words in Renee's mouth, but I think this process and this relationship that we have is working well. Yeah, so we don't have any complaints.
Because one
It's
thing
ju-
I think we expanded that, I think, outside of just PRV
That's
property.
correct.
To where we were getting full countywide observations of silt and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's giving her additional
Right.
manpower that she don't have to pay for.
Right, I was just curious if that was going to
Premium,
stay in
yeah.
place or,
Yeah, it's a good one.
Same agreement.
okay.
The previous MOU said that the termination date, the agreement between the county and the 501c3 terminated on 12/31/20, and we need to back it up to 12/1/20. That's all we're doing.
All right. So I have a motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
So item G, Mr. President, is something that we typically do. The county has an indigent cremation policy that we authorize up to $450 for any established indigency situation where there's no family to take care of a body. And so we allow for the cremation of the remains. We allow for a stipend up to $450 for whoever it is that conducts the cremation. And then we retain possession of the remains for some period of time. And that's something else that we want to talk to you about eventually, but not at the present time. We have one here, Mr. Johnny A. McCullough passed away. He was under a court-ordered conservatorship that Mr. Swale served as a conservator. And so when he passed away, he has no family. He had some funds available, but not enough to get him fully paid on his cremation. And so we need to authorize, under our standing policy on cremation, a payment of $250 for the balance of the cost to cremate his remains and make that payable to Item Lee.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Daniel, second by Jared. Any other discussion?
Hey, I want to say one thing in discussion.
All right.
One thing I'd asked Larry about this before, and he don't even know I'm bringing this up, but I want to mention it. He stores a lot of these remains in a storage facility or location off site. With that being said, I don't know the right location to figure out that, if we need to get a piece of property to put that to, or,
Yeah, Craig and I discussed that actually at the last board meeting. We're gonna come up with some.
a game plan for that. I
Yep.
just want to put that out there that we're going to be coming back on something like that to be
Yep.
able
I'm
to,
storing ashes now. and-
we're storing ashes in a
Okay.
shed building.
We got
We're trying to find a location.
We got it clear.
I don't know the right answer to that or how to bring that up, but
We think we have a site
when they put my
that would be
ashes in,
acceptable.
when they put my ashes in Larry's shed, I need a place for them to go, I guess is my point.
Can,
Think-
can we
don't we do
name
just
it,
like
can
we
we
did?
name it Boot Hill?
Just put it in a
Boot
sock.
Heel.
One plastic bag and a
Like
Ziploc
Gunsmoke.
bag and a sock.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
in all seriousness, why don't we do just like what we've done in the past and bury them?
That's what.
I thought we
So-
did.
I think it is, we just
Yeah.
want, do we have a location?
If I can,
All right.
let
sorry.
me give you,
Okay.
since we're talking about it, let me
Yeah.
give you a couple of thoughts that would help to explain why we want to think this through.
All
Okay?
right.
There's a couple of things. We do what we can to try to notify a family. You won't be surprised that in these situations where you've got an indigent, you won't be surprised to learn that family oftentimes is difficult to find. And sometimes that's by design. Can I say it that way? Okay? And so the issue that we want to address is good, clear documentation on the efforts that are made to notify next of kin, family that could take responsibility. We want to have a good process for that. We want to keep good records of that. And then we think that it's appropriate that we demonstrate some dignity as it relates to how it is that we deal with human remains. some level of dignity that is representative of how we operate as a county and what we think about our citizens, those kinds of things. There's more to it than just haphazardly working through this. We want a policy that says this is the way we handle this, and that way family members that may not have been made aware, were not aware for whatever reason, if they choose to then circle back around, there is a way to identify for them the location and the process that we used to deal with that. Okay,
I hate to bring that up.
No. I'm grateful for the opportunity to
I
sort
heard
of walk through
about
that.
6 months ago him telling me he was taking some remains to a shed, and I thought he was joking, obviously, but he wasn't. He was serious.
Right.
I figured that's my next step where I'm headed, to a shed with remains.
We feel like we need a process, and so we're prepared to move forward to get a process in place that you guys can approve. Okay?
All right, that's it.
I think we need to vote
All right,
on item G.
any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, H.
Item H is a similar project to one that you approved at our last board meeting for the circuit clerk. The circuit clerk intends to use her fee account, proceeds that are in her fee account, to take care of a couple of matters that involve the circuit clerk's office. Last board meeting, the board approved the installation of some hot water facilities that have not been working for many years, and that project was approved and is underway, under construction, getting handled, may have already been handled, and is being paid solely and exclusively through the circuit clerk's fee account. This is a similar request, same thing, but the circuit clerk would like to install some security cameras outside of her office into the parking area, and she intends to use the fee account to pay for that. So she's asking for authorization to move forward with that.
I'm good. So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Daniel, second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Hey, on the discussion side, what's the ballpark money of that?
I believe it's $7,300, is that what? I sent the backup on that, Daniel, I apologize. It may be, you want to thumb through?
Nah, just a ballpark idea of the number. 7,300.
It's less than 10 grand, I know that.
I'm good then.
I'm curious as to what brought this on?
I didn't really I didn't inquire deeply, Jay, I'm sorry.
Is the deputy who's assigned up there, are they gonna monitor it? Is that?
I don't know the answer to that question, Jay.
Sheriff, do you know anything? Oh, I didn't know you was here. I was talking to Paul. Okay, all right,
I haven't heard.
okay. All right, any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. President, I apologize. That's the last item under my section, but I've got one I would like to add as a discussion item, if I may. It won't require any action. This is just simply an update. Well, it may not require any action.
Hey,
This
Dennis.
is an update on our multi-purpose pavilion food service RFP.
Oh,
right.
Just to let you guys know that we went out to RFP. An effort was made to get the RFPs directly into the hands of 2 or 3 vendors that had expressed some interest in it. The deadline for responses was 12/31. We got no responses.
Really?
None. And so,
That's not good for Harrison, is it?
I don't have an explanation for that.
Don't we
But-
have food trucks?
But I wanted you guys to be aware that the reason you're not being asked to act on anything is because we don't have anything to act on. So where we are is we can try the process again, use the same RFP, get it into the hands of those who may be interested in it, see if we can, encourage some sort of response this time. But we are going to have to obviously change the dates and go back through the publication process.
Oh, what's going on now? It's constant. Mike was cooking down there this weekend.
Hey, this is the only time.
You went down and did some cooking?
What else
This-
you got? More than
Hey,
50?
this is the only time.
What did
Mike
you
Ward
cook?
and
I'm just
Guy
curious.
Contact. Mike Ward, you here?
Quick.
I didn't know. Let's say he gets distracted when we talk about cooking now.
I hate to say it, but we can bring the food trucks.
We can.
Good.
We probably can do better advertising this out, maybe figure out a way to run an ad
Right.
in paper other than just putting it in some hands.
Yeah. So I don't know that I need anything.
How did we do it? Did we just do, I know we discussed maybe just charging a
A flat fee.
flat fee.
Yeah.
Did we
Or
do
them,
that?
them bid on a flat fee.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's what- We had a base,
Is
I
that
think.
what we did?
and then-
We did a base fee of $1,000 a month, and we had language in there that said one of the bases upon which the board's decision would be rendered was with respect to how much more than the base fee the vendor was willing to pay the county, as opposed to structuring it so that it is some sort of percentage of gross sales or
Right.
net sales,
Yeah.
which requires some measure of accounting and, some controls over documents from the vendor themselves and the difficulties of getting adequate
Right.
and accurate data. Just go to a flat fee
Honest data.
and see what you get. My thought process is we may want to look at the amount of the flat fee that we are proposing. Maybe that was the issue, I don't know, but nonetheless, we didn't get any responses to the $1,000 minimum.
And it also is listed in there, they have to be there every time it's open.
Yes, sir. And we gave them the schedule of all the events for
Okay.
2020 so that there would be no confusion over what we were talking about as far as events are concerned.
I'm shocked. All
That was also
people who want
published-
to cater are not interested in doing that. Now,
The-
do they
Well,
have to use
probably
our
having to
kitchen?
be there
Can they
every
cater?
time is it.
Huh?
The stipulation having to be there every time is probably the
Well, that,
drawback.
but would they have to use our facility, I mean, our kitchen, or could they just cater it
Out of a trailer.
like they do at mobile? You know, like
Yeah, I don't-
Penn's does, things like that.
Oh, I wouldn't have a problem on those smaller shows and stuff if they pulled in there with the
Yeah.
truck.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe one of them would be interested in doing it that way. They can, gear up
I don't
to as
think-
much as they want.
Did a RFP say that everything had to be operated out of the kitchen?
No, sir, it's not that level of
Okay.
detail, Steve. It does address the reality that we have facilities available and there's equipment available, so there's some accommodation for that. I would have expected vendors that are interested, if they had questions like, hey,
Yeah.
can we
Could
bring,
at least contact.
they could have called us and asked. I don't have an explanation. It was dead air. I'm not aware of anything.
I mean, we hit them right between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I think we just need to open it back up, maybe drop that flat to 800 and see what we get there, because they're still gonna bid. We may still end up at over 1,000.
Yeah, just so you guys know, there was a notice that was published in the paper,
There
so.
was?
Yes, sir. We put a notice in the paper,
Wow.
and so,
Let's do it again.
For the cable lines and the
Oh,
cameras.
let's
So-
do it again, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put some feet, just our individual, ourselves.
so what we'll do is,
3 or 4 times.
we'll relick the calf on our RFP, with a few of the details, maybe drop that minimum fee amount and then push it back out for publication, and you guys can help us get it into the hands of specific vendors that may be interested, okay? So if you've got names, contacts for vendors who might be interested, please get that to me so we can get it in their hands.
Can we, the last time, how many times was it in the paper?
It was in there twice, I
2
believe.
times.
It may have been once, Steve.
I mean, we're gonna open it up probably for at least 30 days.
Yes, sir.
I would run it as
what
many
we did.
times as the paper runs,
Okay.
3 times at least.
We'll probably do the deadline, maybe like a couple of days before the February
Yeah.
15th meeting.
Yeah.
And that'll give us an opportunity then, if we've got responses, you guys can act on it if you choose to,
On the
as soon
15th.
as the 15th.
Yeah.
That works.
Hopefully we'll get some.
Yeah. Okay?
All right.
I will have a need for an executive session, obviously, so.
Okay. All right, Ms. Wanda?
Okay. Item A, new Rankin County Courthouse Facilities, approval of pay application number 30 to Chris Albritton Construction Company in the amount of $227,900.25 and authority to issue that check. Chris Albritton has requested 2 additional days due to adverse weather conditions, and it is JH&H's opinion that these 2 additional rain days are warranted.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we make that check and stop right where that semicolon is.
Yeah, I second stopping at the semicolon.
right,
I knew
we have
that
a
was
motion
coming.
by Mr. Gaines to pay the amount due, but no additional days. Second by Mr. Cross. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Ayes have it.
Item B, re-roofing project for the Department of Human Services, approval of pay application number 3 to M&S Roofing Company in the amount of $10,269.74 and authority to issue the check.
Motion approved.
All right, motion by Jared,
Second.
second by Brad. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item C, re-roofing project for Department of Human Services, approval of a change order number 2 to reconcile the remaining allowances and contingencies and authority for the president to sign.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Steve, second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item D, re-roofing project for Rankin County Emergency Operations Center, approval of pay application number 1 to M&S Roofing Company in the amount of $143,545 and authority to issue check.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Daniel, second by Jared. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it.
Item E is request approval to decrease the mileage reimbursement rate to .575 cents per mile for travel and private vehicle according to the State of Mississippi Department of Finance and Administration, effective as of January 1st, 2020.
So moved.
Motion by Daniel, second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. You have anything else?
I got two things.
All right.
First thing I want to mention was we talked about a generator over for Swales' office. Where's that at? Do we know?
This building back here.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I
I'm
think,
sorry.
yeah, I
Go back
don't,
there. Where did that get to? Do we know?
We left it that we needed an engineer, basically, an electrical engineer to come in. And I did send an email out to Carl Franco to see, did he have anybody that we could get to come? And I don't know that he's responded to it this time, if he did.
Can we get an update on the 15th?
Sure.
On where we're at, time frame, and getting that installed, or prices, quotes, bids, whatever we're gonna do.
I know there were several questions about where it could be, the installation location, and the actual wiring to it, the circuit,
Yeah,
and
I
everything
thought all that
else.
was rolling. So
It
But
is.
we will,
Check
yes,
In that
we will have an
way
answer.
it can.
yeah, and the last thing I want to bring up was I asked Mr. Parker, the youngest, Mr. Parker, to work over the weekend to determine a price for Pine Brook.
oh, yeah.
And he didn't go to sleep all weekend, and he's looking for a football coach at Mississippi State. He still can't find one of those. So maybe since you can't, since you can't take that job, can you come back and give me an update on the prices for Pine Brooks? Honestly, after we left the meeting on Thursday, obviously we flooded again, and
Yeah, no
Mr.
kidding.
Gaines came out, got to see it firsthand. So,
All right.
So basically, what we came up with is on the bridge, the construction of the bridge, we've got an estimate of $275,000. That's the materials under the county contract prices, and then install under the county contract prices. So all that would be done under the existing county contract prices. We've got, for the removal of the culverts and the construction of the approaches, because this bridge it will be higher, we've got an estimate of $75,000. So that would be on the county side.
We're doing that.
Yes, sir. And then so in the bridge area, in the connector roads, we got a total of $350,000 there, is an estimate.
Wow.
And then the.
Wait. Oh, those two added together?
Yes, sir. The 275 and 75.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Those two added together
Yeah.
comes up to
Yeah.
350.
Yeah.
And then we had talked about, Mike was gonna raise the road on East Pine Brook Drive, and we've got an estimate there of $250,000. Now that's, we don't have any survey data to pinpoint exactly the distance of that, so I feel comfortable with this estimate, and I think it'll be below that. But we just had to we wanted to estimate conservatively on how much road it was gonna be to raise.
$500,000.
So, where would that get us if we do all this?
Okay, what that's gonna do is it's gonna, in small rain events, it's gonna help with the bridge in there. You're gonna help the flow. You're not gonna impede the flow like the culverts are now. Now, let me be clear. In the big event, when it's over the bridge on both sides, whether it's a bridge or not, it's not gonna solve that problem. If you get a huge event, it's the bridge. What the intent is for the bridge to allow to get the first water out of there quicker. If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
instead of the culverts backing up water and it continuing to back up and eventually topping the bridge, so in theory, what's going to happen is you're going to have less overtopping. But now, if you have one of the big rain events, there's just the capacity, the quantity of water that comes down through there is phenomenal. And there's, unless you get upstream somewhere, this bridge, I want to be clear, I don't think is going to 100% solve the problem, but it certainly, in the
help.
smaller events, definitely helps.
So what about the road?
The road's going to, I mean, what it's going to do there is it's going to keep that road, that area road from going underwater. It's bad. And it still may get a little bit of water.
Areas. Yeah.
No,
I'm sorry.
It's same,
Well, the
I
creek
know
runs
it's in the
behind
same
the houses.
subdivision,
Yeah,
but-
yeah, you're right.
but it's two separate areas in the
different
subdivision.
That's correct. Right. And this is an isolated area. In West Pine Brook, there's a large amount of the street that gets underwater. East Pine Brook Drive,
It's just a cul-de-sac.
that little cul-de-sac
So
bubble.
why would we want to do the cul-de-sac if it's not going to fix anything?
Well, it is gonna fix it. It's gonna eliminate the water off our roadways,
But, okay.
We think.
In the cul-de-sac.
which is impassable. That's the one where it's
Yeah.
up to the mailboxes.
So if
That's
we
East
do
Pine.
this, is it still not going to be water on each side of it?
I think you're still gonna have some water pill up on those massive rain things. One of the things we also talked about doing, and Mike would do this, would be going to Huntington Lake itself and kind of create that weir right there at Hugh Ward Boulevard to where we can have a gate where we can let water out as we see a rain event coming. We can control the height of Huntington Lake water to slow water down from getting into that creek. It would take longer to fill up, thus giving more time for the creek to drain back out on the other side.
There's not one there now.
No.
So who's gonna put the gate in?
That good-looking guy back there.
Gates
And
in our right of way.
Huh?
The
gates in the right of way. Mike would do all that.
So do you think if we do that, will this solve our
I
problem?
think it's going to take a lot of the pressure off of it. Right now, we're getting this event probably 6 to 8 times a year. If we could cut it down and get it to 1 gully washer a year, 2 gully washers a year, that's a huge, huge improvement for those folks.
But I
The
guess
bad answer is it's a bad location for homes and,
Yeah,
and stuff all
right.
the way around.
Yeah.
So unless you get a pump system, which Lord knows what that costs, and remember all this area is equal with the height of the reservoir, so it's hard to get that stuff out there if the natural flow is not running the way it should.
Yeah.
It's just we've got to increase the ability to get the flow out of there. The overall true fix of the deal would be to slow the amount of water getting down into Pine Brook itself. That's the true fix of it. But the only way to do that, obviously, is adjust some stuff at Huntington Lake or create or buy property further to create more retention ponds on the north side. Now we're getting into some crazy stuff.
And it's probably going to take actually
But
both of those.
things happen. So this is honestly the first step in fixing that, and let's see what kind of pressure it takes off, and then we'll come back and make adjustments.
I'm all for us addressing it, but I just don't want to throw money away.
No, I agree.
You know?
This can't hurt the situation, in my opinion. Tim,
I agree. No,
Even just the raising of the cul-de-sac doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because they're already in a cul-de-sac.
You're already down below.
It's actually not.
If we do it, will the people be able to access their homes
they will now. Yeah, I believe
if
they
we
will
raise
now.
the road?
I believe so.
It's not a true cul-de-sac. It's actually the main road, but it's got a bubble off of it. So it's actually the main. It's actually East Pine Brook
May have been
Drive.
a
It's not a dead-end cul-de-sac.
You put them there and it's a big loop, and then it goes off to the right.
It's not a dead end cul-de-sac. I guess it's on the main thoroughfare. Which
Okay.
is
So it's the main.
I was thinking a cul-de-sac is a
Well,
cul-de-sac.
yeah, I guess I used it back.
Okay.
It's just a kind of a turnaround that's
All
in
right.
there.
Okay.
Can I introduce a quick reminder?
Yeah.
Y'all have already approved these improvements
Yeah.
as a bond project.
Yeah.
They are a project. We need to make sure that we get on top of the design of the project and the estimated costs of the project, and then we need to move forward to implement that. We have commodity bids that are in place to allow for us to be able to handle the vast majority of this and possibly all of it. But I would like to see the entirety of this discussion coalesced into a project. Okay? Which includes any work, if any, that needs to be done on the Huntington Lake side of the equation, the weir and the activities there. And the reason I'm asking you guys to move forward and to establish this as a project with a price is so that on the accounting side, your staff knows how to account for costs, invoicing as it comes in as a bond project, as opposed to coming out of the road budget.
Okay.
Or to backfill the road.
What did we have in it on the, in the bond for that?
I want to say.
2 million?
I think it was a big number. You remember, Mike?
For Pine
Well,
Brook?
now, we had set
1.5
aside
too.
$1 million and something, and for,
1.5. Million five.
for,
Drainage
certain
problems.
things, and then, we were planning on using the overage for that too.
Correct. Which was gonna give us more than.
It was gonna give $2 million, or a little over $2 million.
For multiple of these projects come up, Vernon Jones, those type
Yeah,
of things that
they're
come
just
in,
not, they're not stormwater projects, they're just projects.
just
road
projects, but they're projects for that.
Yeah.
That's what that line's for. Huntington Lake, HOA. And we met with them Friday.
Go into it and come out of it.
Hey, where was it on the,
Or just
on
spills
this
into the
on
creek.
this?
Built into the
I
creek,
remember
so,
that.
yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Oh.
What we're recalling, we will clarify this, but what we're recalling is that in June, when we were going through the discussions, this was put on the ultimately approved list as an emergency drainage project, 1.5 million.
Yeah, yeah,
We won't be using that much.
so,
So I think.
and I
that
thought
was-
we discussed using our overage for that too.
If needed, yeah.
Yeah,
I think at that point, we were very much just estimating.
all right.
We had no real clue.
I'm not
as
talking
to-
about for this project.
Okay.
I'm talking about our, bond money.
Yeah.
The additional funds, I think it was $1 million we
Oh,
were gonna get.
you're talking about the drainage,
Yeah.
the drainage
we were-
part of it?
Yeah. we
Yeah,
were-
yeah. So it's, that's not gonna happen.
I was just saying that $1 million
Yeah,
was
it's
accounted
there.
for it too.
It's
so,
there.
Yeah.
All right, so what do we need to do?
So do you need a motion?
I'd like to see a formal motion out of Daniel to establish this as, in fact, to clarify that it is a bond project, it's already been approved, but we've now got an estimated number that we can tally up and figure out what it is.
For
somewhere in the
phase
hood.
one, which we were calling phase one on the Pine Brook side of Hugh Ward, and then I don't have numbers on the
Right.
Huntington Lake side.
I would just like it to be established on the record that this is a project which includes the Huntington Lake side.
Do I need to add that to the
add it.
agenda?
Yep.
So make a motion to add that to the agenda.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Cross to add, this project.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right,
Thank
so
you,
I'll make
Tim.
make a motion to approve.
All right, motion by Mr. Cross.
What are we approving though?
We're actually approving the phase one side of this. Well, actually, we're approving the project.
project.
We're declaring this a project under the bonds for Pine Brook's flooding issues.
Phase one and
Yeah,
phase two
phase one
is
and
a
phase two.
project. Yes,
The
sir.
estimates
And,
about our.
You're authorizing moving forward with phase one. Phase two is just included as a part of the project. We're not going to act on that yet, but phase one is what we're approving. And so you've got a number. What was the number, Tim?
The number we.
600?
600 construction, then we just put indirect, we said 12% for indirect, so it's 675.
That includes raising the road.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it doesn't include the weir.
No,
No, sir, it does not
the weir would be phase two, but we've got that in the project. We can come back for the cost estimates.
I just want to make sure that on the accounting side, we know where the proceeds
Because
to
I
fund
believe
that work product is coming from. It's coming out of the bond.
the weir is gonna be looked at further down the line, and
I
I
agree.
think that's something Mike looks at that he's gonna do it a little differently, so.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so that's my motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Cross,
Second.
second by Mr.
Jerry.
Morrison. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Laura, you weren't here at our last meeting, and we need to, there was some discussion. Mike thinks he's $2 million short in the road fund,
And bridge.
but there was, and bridge, we need to get an update on where we are on our bond funds and where, well, where Mike thinks he's 2 million short, I don't know.
Well, the two to 2.5 million that is typically brought over from cash into the budget for the year
Right.
was not brought over
Right.
this time.
Right.
The budget was based on anticipated revenues,
Right.
and that's where it is.
That's
So
it. Okay.
There was no additional 2.5 million from cash brought into the formula for the entire
Right,
budget.
because we said that's what we.
And a few of the bond projects, few of the projects we could reimburse them.
And we have
We have what we
reimbursed
can,
that into the cash, yes,
and what we
have.
can, but
Into-
not all would qualify.
Into the
correct?
cash,
Into the cash,
okay,
yes.
not into his budget.
Right, because the budget was set at budget time without
Okay.
2.5 million, without any money. The budget was the budget.
Yep.
So when we received the money, the bond money, and we reimbursed it, that money went back into cash.
Okay.
What
And
about,
it may not be $2 million. It's
Well, no.
whatever it could.
It's that amount of money,
It
but,
was around $2 million, but it went back into cash.
Okay,
The budget would have to be altered as an amendment to alter the budget if you want that reimbursement
I got you. Okay.
back into the budget.
what about the 5 million for the Civil Link program? Where's that money?
That's in the
In the
bond.
bond.
It's in the bond, but when he's doing that stuff, he can draw out of it?
Yes, sir.
It's being paid from the bond. It's not supposed to be being paid from road, it's supposed to be paid out
Okay,
of
so
the
that's
bond.
5 more million than his,
Yeah, but that's a little
right,
different.
it's just not in his budget,
Well,
but
It's
we're
not
spending
in his
it on
budget.
road.
Right,
It's
it's-
in
I mean,
a
Not in
different
his budget.
pot
Yeah.
of money.
right, I understand.
And even though we put that money in the cash, which is general fund, we can still spend the money out of general fund for road projects.
Yeah, I'm just
Well,
saying,
it
at
was
the
put
rate,
in road.
right, so the,
Cash.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it was in the road.
It's in road, but
Oh,
it's in the cash, not
okay,
in the
okay.
budgeted amount.
All right,
okay, so he's still got it
All
there,
right.
he'll use,
It's
cause,
in cash.
right, cause the rate he's at right now, we'll be out of money by the time we go to conference, and then we'll all just be fishing the rest of the summer.
Right, and then what we'll have to do is, when we get to that point, we will amend
the
the
budget.
budget.
A budget to
pull
make
it
it
out
whole.
of
If-
cash,
if-
if
yeah.
that is y'all's will.
As we need
And
to.
into
All right.
what line items are needed.
Yeah, not one lump sum, but as we need.
Right.
Right,
Right, and as to what line items are needed.
right.
all right,
But that'll take a
Everybody
minute.
straight on that?
Yeah.
straighter.
Straighter? Alright. Okay, we need to, discuss the need to go into executive session.
So moved.
Personnel.
All right, Personnel. Motion by Mr. Cross,
Second.
second by Mr. Calhoun. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you, Marcus.
That was neat. That was discussed.
All right, so I make a motion to go in.
Oh, yeah. All right, we got a motion to go into executive session for personnel by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Calhoun. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Unanimous. Yeah. Thank you. I need all